So today I have decided to go explore a part of my property that I've yet to wander off into. Don't ask me why I decided to do this today of all days, but hopefully I don't get lost. But I did write down some GPS coordinates so that I can find the fourth property marker that I've yet to locate. And so hopefully I'll be able to get back there and get back safely. But nonetheless, I did let some people in the community know what I was up to in case I don't report back in a little while. So wish me luck, and I'm going to bring you along to see what we encounter. Hopefully no wildlife. Well, I haven't gotten lost, I hope, but I haven't found my way out either, nor have I found the property marker. But it is absolutely gorgeous back here. This is the clearest area in this whole little trek that I've made. And I know I'm close to where the property marker is based upon the coordinates that I have. But since I don't have an actual plat map, I don't have the actual coordinates, so I'm kind of winging it based upon how long my property lines are. So I have been finding this particular this particular type of scat around my property in the last few days. It's probably bear. I don't know what else it could be, but as gross as this is going to sound, I'm going to take a stick in it, kind of pull it apart, see if I can see what's in it. If there's berries and things like that, then that'll tell me it's definitely a bear. If not, my guess is as good as yours. There's the pile, but right beside it is that. Does that look man-made to you? Yeah, it's a good thing I'm armed. Well, I haven't found the marker, but I found more high bush cranberries. This whole area is full of them. See, right here. And you can tell because it has a large seed right there is the seed. So it looks like that's a trail. And if I come back, looks like the trail continues on over that direction. See, because this is something else that tells me maybe I'm on the right path, because these have been cut. Those have all been cut, and those have been cut. So I think I'm going the right way. So those trees right there did actually lead me to the property marker, because there is the bearing tree. Yay! So I went ahead and pounded a T-post into the ground where the property marker is, and I'm just going to spray paint the end of it orange so that it's bright and easily locatable, considering how back into the woods I actually am. So right there is a trail. It's kind of hard to see on camera. Right there's a trail. You can see the bearing marker sign right there. So I think that trail will take me back to my cabin. So I'm going to make my way back now that I've spray painted my post and have located it on the GPS and taken an image of the GPS marker. So should be good to go. Wish me luck in getting back. Another cut tree right there. More cut trees right there. So that's good. I just need to follow all the cut trees, I guess. Cut tree right there. So there's an obvious trail here where all these cut trees are, and you can actually see a break in the trees and see sky right there. So if I just keep following this trail and all these cut poles, or trees rather, I should be able to find that marker pretty easily. And it looks like this might actually be my property line. So yay to me. Well, as you can see, I made my way out of the woods. And now that I'm back in the back of the property and all the leaves are starting to fall out of the trees, I can hear where they are flattening the road that I live on. This last spring with breakup, it really did a number on the road. And so we had a lot of washouts on the road that I live on in this area and make sure that we hopefully don't have so much flooding and washouts this next spring. So if you hear that noise in the background, that's what that is. But speaking of background, in the background of getting everything taken care of around the property this year and finding those property markers, I decided that I would take a little bit of fun for just myself. And so I did a little bit of last minute fishing up at Blueberry Lake, where I tried to catch some grayling or rainbow trout. Unfortunately, while the fish were biting that day, I wasn't able to land one. My understanding is that they're really small in that lake anyhow. But hopefully I'll get a chance to do a little bit more fishing before winter actually sets in. So fingers crossed on that one. But also I decided that I would go berry picking. Just like the high bush cranberries that I found in the back of my property, I also found a whole bunch of them off along the roadside. And so I collected about a quart size Ziploc bag full of those high bush cranberries. Now they do have a rather large seed in them, as I tried to show in my previous clip, but those I'll probably wind up turning into some type of jam or jelly. If I can find some crowberries here on my property, I'd like to add those to it as well. So if I do that, I'll be sure to make a video of it and share that with you. But also I went blueberry picking. This is what I set out to do, was to find blueberries. I found a few raspberries along the Matanuska Glacier overlook, but really it's past its prime there. So most of them were rotten, and to be honest, they'd been picked over. So here I am collecting blueberries, and I couldn't be happier. Finally, it's only taken me all day to figure out where they're at. But I'm gonna get busy picking. I wanted so much to believe that there are berries back here. And now that I found them, I'm a happy girl. I can't even begin to tell you how happy this makes me. I don't have anything but lingonberries on my property. And so to find wild blueberries is quite the treat. But it is late in the season and they're past their prime. And there aren't that many of them out here. But I'm going to pick what I can. Don't worry, I am armed. I know you guys worry about me when I'm out and about. But whether I'm berry picking or doing anything else, I'm always armed when I'm outdoors. So no need to worry on that one. And the blueberries, I was a little late in the season for getting them, but boy, were they tasty. I only got about a pint of those blueberries, and I served them up with some crepes and a little bit of sour cream, and it was really, really delicious. But let's head up front and let's talk about what's been going on in the garden. Over the last few days, frost has begun to move into the area. Because of this, I went ahead and started to pull the garden. And I pulled my Japanese pumpkin and my zucchini as well as my potatoes. Now the Japanese pumpkin did produce some, but really only got a couple small ones, the largest of which was about the size of a large navel orange. The zucchini didn't produce a whole lot. I probably got 3 or 4 zucchini. I know, a record low number of zucchini, but nonetheless, those have been pulled, and I went ahead and pulled my potatoes. Now I want to show a couple things about the potatoes, and then I'll show you how many I was able to harvest. But if you wind up pulling your potatoes and you pull, these really tiny, small potatoes, a lot of people will just leave those in the ground or they'll discard them. I, for one, am not one for letting anything go to waste. And so these really small potatoes, even these incredibly tiny ones here. Let me pull one of these out here. This is about the size of a large pea. These, I will boil all of these up for a few moments, and then I will add them to a skillet, drain them, add them to a skillet with some hot oil, smash them down with a fork, add some seasoning to it, and fry them up much like hash browns, fried potatoes, if you will. Really quick way of serving these, and that way they don't go to waste. If I can get a meal out of it, I'm going to collect it and put it to good use. The other thing is, 2 other things regarding my potato harvest is, one is that I did not use a tool such as this to harvest the potatoes. If you're digging through with a shovel or a hand spade to harvest your potatoes, you run the risk of cutting into the potatoes or even scratching that skin. If you scratch the skin, it's going to invite mold and bacteria to set into your potatoes, and you can lose your whole harvest while they're in storage. Now, I'm going to let my potatoes sit for a few days and let those skins dry out and toughen up before I store them in a couple brown paper bags, one inside the other, and then fold the tops over and flip them upside down. And then I'll be storing my potatoes in a cool, dry spot where they won't have any light touching them. That way I'm guaranteed to have potatoes last me through the majority of the winter. One other thing is the squash vines and the potato vines, which you can see down here below me, those I will not be composting. Potato vines and potentially squash vines are prone to disease. And so if I compost those, no matter how hot the compost gets, there's a good chance that that mold or disease is going to carry through into the compost that you might put back on your garden. While some mold spores can be killed at temperatures ranging from 140 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit or 60 to 71 degrees Celsius, not all mold spores can be killed at that temperature. Some require a temperature to be held for 3 minutes minimum at 212 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 100 degrees Celsius. Your average compost heap only gets to about 160 degrees. The other thing is that we're really concerned about blight. Potato blight is what caused the potato famine back in the day, and we don't want that to happen again, so don't compost your potato plants, just discard them. And so those I will be disposing of in the trash. I won't be burning them because I don't want that to go back into the soil at any point. I will be disposing them, getting them off the property. So all told, I did get about 20 pounds of potatoes, which you can see right here. So I did get a fair amount of potatoes, and I still have some other things left in the garden. It is early in the morning. It may not look it. Well, maybe it's not early. Maybe it's about 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. I slept in. But can you see this behind me? More frost. So I want to show you a trick that can extend your garden, especially if you have cold, hardy crops like beets and cabbages. So over my shoulder here, you can see the garden, and you can see I put a sheet down over the beets. I left the mustard out exposed because this probably won't dry out enough for the seeds to be viable. And if they seed themselves, I'm happy with it. So I'm just going to let that go as long as it can. And then my cabbages, you can see I put a sheet over it. And I'm going to bring this down so you can really see. It's kind of, my breath I think is frosting up the camera. But there's actually like a light frost on here. And you can see the cabbages underneath are just fine. Oops, just knocked something off onto the garden. But let me throw this up here. Okay. So, again, the cabbages are fine. Now, I probably could have let these cabbages, in fact, some of them have a little bit of frost on them. I could have left these cabbages probably uncovered, and they would have done just fine as well. But the reason I'm leaving my cabbages out a little bit longer is these are cold weather crops. They'll be fine. And the other thing is that unlike Josh over at Southern Roots, Alaska Branches, I do not have a state fair size cabbage head in my garden like he did. If you want to see that, I'll leave a link to his channel below. But I'm going to flip the camera around and show you the biggest cabbage I have in my garden. A lot of these are just leaves, but I'll show you what I have. That would be it. That would be the biggest. This would be the next biggest. So you can see these are tiny. These are really, really tiny hints. And then this is the next biggest. It's like a Brussels sprout. Wait. No, these aren't Brussels sprouts. I'm just kidding. But yeah, a lot of these just produced leaves, which is fine. Like I said, I do use these outer leaves for covering up food in ferments and for sauteing. So not a big deal. So I just pulled the sheet back on the beets, and you can see they're fine. I mean, they look fine. So these will should just be fine. And if I don't get the beet greens out of this, it's not a big deal. And I probably will still salvage them because it'd be no different than if I put them in my freezer and then went to go use them. So, but I left these in the ground also because I need these to grow a little bit longer because I don't think I have any record-sized beets in here either. Again, getting the garden out late, it being not in the sunniest location, not really watering it, but I got what I got. So, but I have a feeling I'll be pulling these in the next couple of days because last week at the beginning of the video, everything was green. I filmed that video in just a matter of a couple of days, and by the time I was done filming, everything was gold. Well, here it is, not even a week later since I finished filming, and everything is starting to dry up, and the leaves are actually starting to fall off trees. You can't tell from where I'm at because it's just spruce trees behind me, but let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm not going to get a whole lot out of this garden this year, and that's fine. I put this garden in just so that I could get a few crops out of it, and I'll be happy with what I did get. The potatoes, the couple Japanese pumpkins, whatever beets I'm able to harvest out of here, as well as those cabbages. Now those beets, like I said, will not be large enough for storing through the winter months, and so I decided to head down to Valdez, where I picked up the most ridiculously small amount of food for a 6-month grocery haul. That's right. Everything you see on the table is all I really need to carry me through for the next 6 months. Why is that, you say? Well, because I have a fully stocked pantry still. With it being just me here in the cabin, I really don't go through food that fast. Now, I am eating, don't get me wrong. If you've seen in some of my recent videos, I have put on a little bit of weight, and that's because I am eating. But I'm not going through the food all that fast. So as you can see behind me, a lot of the things that I have are in cans or jars, and those things will last me for a couple of years, so that's fine. But I also have 4 freezers that are completely full still. Most of them are full of meat from the side of beef that I bought. There's also still some of the pork left that I bought. There's also some fish and some game that I have been able to receive from people in neighboring communities that have been successful in their hunting or fishing. But also one of my freezers is completely full of things used for baking: flour, sugar, even frozen eggs, along with things like butter and cream. Now, when it comes to the butter and the cream, as you might know from some of my previous videos, I freeze my cream. But I have a couple of tips that I'd like to pass along to you on how to freeze cream, because the question has come up in the past. So I will tell you that in years past, I bought big quart size containers of cream. I'm no longer doing that. I'm buying them just in these pint size containers, because when I bought the quart size, I had to divvy it up into other containers before freezing it. And originally I was using Ziploc bags. The Ziploc bags don't work, in my opinion. The reason I'm saying that is because you need to shake up the cream really well before you freeze it and after you thaw it out. So I find it's easier to use these pint-sized containers. Again, just give it a good shake. Make sure everything is thoroughly mixed in there. You could even shake this to the point where you have whipped cream in here. Just don't overshake it, because you don't want butter. Once you've thoroughly reconstituted everything in here, make sure it's all mixed together, in other words, then you're just going to put that right in your freezer. And when you're ready to use it, just take the whole pint out of the freezer, let it sit in a cool place overnight, whether that's a cooler or your refrigerator or even a cold winter windowsill. And again, just give it a good shake to reconstitute everything before using. And you'll find that you can use this then for coffee or for cooking. Now, if you don't shake this, or you put it in a Ziploc bag where you can't shake it easily, what you're going to find is that the fats separate from the liquids, and you are going to wind up with a very oily, or, well, the butter fats are going to rise to the top of whatever you're mixing it into, especially like your morning coffee. You're going to find your coffee's oily and not creamy. So just give it a good shake. Like I said, plop it in the freezer and it's good to go. But I also want to make a clarification regarding the clotted cream recipe that I had previously posted. If you haven't seen that video, I will leave it linked up above. I think it'll be on this side of the screen. But you want to avoid using cream like this. This is cream that I believe came from Walmart. I picked it up in a small market, but this cream is not pure cream. I think you can see the ingredients there, if I can get the camera to focus on that. And there are additives in this cream. Those additives will prevent that clotted cream. Sorry about that, trying to get the camera to focus on me now. Those additives will prevent this cream from clotting if you were to make the clotted cream on your stovetop like I showed in my video. So with that being said, you want to use pure heavy cream, 30% or greater in its fat content. This one's 36%, but if you can get 40% cream or higher, and it doesn't have any additives, that should work for you. So again, I will leave that linked up ahead, or up above. Well, this week I received just a handful of things from some of you. And the first thing that I received was one of these little battery analyzers from Carol Braskett. So Carol, thank you for this. I have shown one of these in a previous video. I'll leave that video linked at the end of this one. And I want to say thank you nonetheless, because I believe in having backups for backups. You never know when something's going to fail. And if you have a spare, then you should be set. So thank you, Carol, for this. This is going to come in handy sooner or later, hopefully, rather than sooner. But nonetheless, I am very appreciative. And do you remember those signs that I received while my family was here? Well, I finally found out who sent me those. And it turns out that that was Alita. Alita is the lady who sent me the care package last week. And so I want to thank Alita for reaching out to me to let me know that it was her that sent these over, and very much appreciated. As I said, I know exactly where they're going to go, and I'll be showing that in a future video. But also I want to say thank you again to my friend Janice, who sent me another lovely note. And I really appreciate these because they let me know what's not only going on with Janice, but also what's happening back in Colorado. So thank you, Janice, for this. Very much appreciated. And I appreciate all of you who are watching today, and those of you who have subscribed, and those of you who are channel members and Patreon members. I really appreciate everything that you do, not to mention those of you who do super thanks as well as super chats. Very much appreciated. So with that being said, I want to say thank you for watching today's video, and here are some outtakes at the end that I hope that you'll enjoy, and I look forward to catching up with you next week. There's the first one. It's not much of a potato. Oh my goodness. I hope that my rest of my potatoes are better size than this. Can you even see me? I'm not even recording. I just recorded all that and never hit, well, I just said all that and never hit record. So, tragedy.